Hi, I'm Lucy from Sew Essential and I'm here today to take a closer look at the Brother 3034D Overlocker, just one of a wide range of overlockers, cover stitch machines and sewing machines available to buy on our site sewessential.co.uk. At Sew Essential, we pride ourselves on using our expert knowledge to help you find the perfect machine for you, and that's why I've made this video, but we're always here to support you by phone or email too. The 3034D has all the same great features as the 2104D, which is the cheaper Brother overlocker in the range, but in addition to all of those features, you also get a free extension table which extends your workspace and makes it easier to work on larger projects, and you also get a free trim trap to catch all the bits as the excess fabric's trimmed off, and that just keeps your workspace nice and tidy. Like the 2104D, you also get the fast, easy looper threading system, which I can't wait to show you in the video. The option to sew 3 or 4 thread overlocking stitches, including a rolled hem. A retractable knife so that you can choose whether you want to trim the edge of the fabric or not. Differential feed so that you can choose to gather the fabric or stretch the fabric, and you can correct any issues that you might have. 3 feet are included with the machine, so you get a gathering foot, a piping foot and a blind hem stitch foot. You also get the option to convert it to a free arm so that you can sew in the round really easily, and I'll show you what I mean by that in the video. And then you can also use standard sewing machine needles with this overlocker, so that's a great plus point too. I'll pop a link in the corner of the machine so you can take a closer look and purchase it on our site. We'll have a look at what comes in the box at the end of the video, but now let's take a closer look at what this machine can do for you. So we'll start by threading the machine, and you always thread in a specific order with this machine. You've got 4 spool pins, the lower looper, the upper looper, the right needle and the left needle, and you always work your way from right to left. So you thread the lower looper first, then the upper looper, then the right needle, then the left needle. You've got a telescopic thread guide here that extends out of shot, and normally you'd extend that up and then you would put your threads through it, but for the purposes of the video I'm going to lower it and I'm going to show you with it in shot how you thread that guide, and then I'll extend it out of shot, but normally you would extend it first and then put your thread through it. So I'm going to thread always from back to front, first through the hole labelled number 1. So we go from back to front like so, and then we bring the thread under the second thread guide like so, and then just bring it through the guide, so it's going from back to front on the second thread guide as well. And then I'm just going to extend that out of shot, and then we take the thread and pass it through the third thread guide on the top of the machine here, and then we'll go down to the front of the machine to take a closer look at threading the loopers. Before I thread the actual machine part, I just need to lift the presser foot using the lever on the side of the machine and turn the hand wheel until the line on the hand wheel matches up with the line on the side of the machine. I then need to slide the cover open, and we're going to follow the numbered guides to thread the lower looper. So the lower looper corresponds to the blue numbers. So I'm going to take it behind hook number 5, under guide 6 and 7, which are those 2 metal guides there. So we just take it underneath those 2 guides, through number 8, which is a hook there. And then this is where the Brother machines really come into their own. On a lot of manual overlockers, you've got to try and thread this, which is the lower looper, and it's quite hidden away, quite difficult to get to, and you need to use tweezers to try and reach it. On the Brother machines, we're going to slide this lever across, and you'll notice the lower looper will drop out and give us easy access for threading. So you can see there now, I've got nice easy access to be able to thread that lower looper. So all I need to do now is take the thread round the back of that guide there and pass it through the eye of the needle. So I'm just going to take it around that guide there like so, And then I'll use some tweezers to thread the needle so you've got a bit better visibility on the video. But it's just like threading a needle on your sewing machine. You just thread from front to back, just push that through. And then I can grab the other end with my tweezers. Just make sure it doesn't get tangled up anywhere. And that is the lower looper threaded. And then I'd just pass the thread under the arm of the machine and under the foot of the machine, but your lower looper is now threaded. So I've taken the excess thread for the lower looper through the machine, through under the arm of the machine, and then brought it round to the side. And then before we thread the upper looper, we just need to turn the hand wheel and return the lower looper to its original position, like so. Then we take the thread for the upper looper through the same thread guides at the top of the machine. And then we're going to follow the green numbers this time to thread the upper looper. So behind the hook, number 5, under guide number 6, but not 7 for the upper looper. So we're only going under that first guide. And then we're going to bring the thread up and over guide number 7, like so. And then we're just going to take the thread through the eye of the upper looper needle from front to back, the same way we did the lower looper needle, like so. And then I can just get my tweezers again and grab that and pull it through. And there you have it, our upper looper is now threaded. And again, I would just pass that thread under the machine and bring it to the side. Now we're going to thread the right needle. So again, we've gone through the relevant guide on the telescopic thread guide at the top, through number 3 on the top of the machine, and then we're following the pink numbers this time. So we're coming under here and then up and over, much like you do on your sewing machine. And then you want your thread to go down the right hand side of this metal guide here, behind the guide on the front of the needle bar, which again is very similar to your sewing machine, and then just put your thread through the eye of the needle in the normal way. Good test of my eyesight. So there we go, just put that through the needle, and again I'll just take that to the back of the machine, through under the arm of the machine, and just to the back and to the side. And then we'll repeat the process with the left needle. So take it through guides 1 and 2 at the top, like we did for all of the other threads. And then through guide 3 on the top of the machine, down the front of the machine, through guide 4, and then we're going to bring it around, up and over. And this time we're going on the left hand side of the metal guide, behind the guide on the needle bar again. So just bring that behind like so, and then again just thread that needle in the usual way. And one of the really good things about Brother overlockers is you can just use normal sewing machine needles in them. So if you buy a packet of needles for your sewing machine, you can also use those same needles on the overlocker. We do stock all of the needles for overlockers and sewing machines on our site. To start sewing, I've closed the front cover and switched the machine on, and then I'm also going to attach the trim bin which comes with the machine. And this is a great feature because very often you would have to buy this separately, but it's a really useful thing to have. When you sew an overlocking stitch, when you've got your blade engaged, you're trimming excess fabric off as you sew, and without one of these that just ends up on the work area and it can be messy to tidy up afterwards. But with one of these trim bins, all the bits are collected and it just makes it really easy to keep your work area nice and clean and tidy. I've still got the presser foot raised because I'm just going to put the fabric under the foot to start sewing, and then I'll lower the presser foot and we'll go ahead and sew that 4-thread overlocking stitch. And I'm just going to mention that the threads I've put under the foot and to the back of the machine. I had them to the side when I was threading, but for sewing I put them to the back of the machine. And you can see there we've got a lovely, neat, balanced stitch. We've got the upper looper in red, 2 parallel lines of stitching in black, which are the needles, and then on the other side of the fabric we've got the lower loopers in blue, but it's a really lovely, neat, even stitch. You can also sew a 3-thread overlocking stitch on this machine. So I'm sewing the wide 3-thread overlocking stitch. I've just got the left needle in and the right needle has been removed. You thread the machine in exactly the same way and in the same order, but you just don't thread the right needle. You've also got the option to do a narrow 3-thread overlocking stitch, and in that case you leave the right needle in and you remove the left needle, or you don't add the left needle. And a 3-thread overlocking stitch is a great way to finish the seams of delicate items like blouses and things like that. I wouldn't generally use a 3-thread overlocking stitch to sew a construction seam on a garment because they're not as strong as a 4-thread overlocking stitch, but it's a really nice way to finish the edges of finer fabrics and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to sew the 3-thread overlocking stitch now. And you can see there we've got another lovely, neat, balanced stitch. That's your upper looper thread in the red, and then on the back we've got the lower looper thread in the blue. When the machine is set up for a 3-thread overlocking stitch, so that's the upper and lower loopers and the right needle, you've also got the option to sew what's called a rolled hem, which is a pretty decorative finish often used on satin fabrics, chiffon fabrics. And all you do to create the 3-thread rolled hem is adjust your stitch width and length according to the manual, and the manual will also give you instructions on how to set your tensions for different types of fabric as well. But then the final step we need to do is just to remove this here, which is the stitch finger. And what that does is that means that when we sew the rolled hem, it gives it that rolled effect, that curved effect to the stitches rather than being a flat stitch. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew the 3-thread rolled hem, and I'm using some woolly nylon, which you can also purchase on our site. I'm using that in the upper looper. It's a thicker thread, so it just fills the stitches in more. And you can see there we've got this lovely decorative finish to the edge of the fabric. So it just means you can use this instead of a narrow hem sometimes if you want something a bit more delicate. The other option is that you can use the threads, the excess threads, to create belt loops and things like that for your clothes as well when you're making them. But it just gives you that nice decorative finish to the edge of fabrics. One of the things that makes the Brother 3034D Overlocker such great value are the extra feet included with the machine. So not only do you get the standard presser foot, you also get a gathering foot, a piping foot and a blind hem foot. So I'm just going to demonstrate the gathering foot to you now. And you can see there we've got a lovely gathered piece of fabric attached to a non-gathered piece of fabric. Now we'll take a look at the piping foot. You can see there I've got that lovely neat overlocking stitch, and then if I open up the 2 layers of fabric, I've got my piping sewn neatly between them. The machine also includes a blind hem stitch foot, which allows you to sew a blind hem but also allows you to sew flat lock stitching and pin tuck stitching. You set the machine up for a 3-thread overlocking stitch using the upper and lower loopers and the left needle only. And then in the manual you'll find instructions on how to fold the fabric, what length and width settings to choose, and also which tensions to set. But I'm going to go ahead now and sew a blind hem stitch. And I've opened that out, and you can see here on the right side I've got a few little bits of stitching visible, but if I was using a matching thread that would be barely visible. Also, if you're using coarser fabrics with a looser weave, it's not very visible. You'll always get some visibility of the stitches on the right side, but it's very, very minimal. And then on the wrong side you've got a lovely neat overlocking stitch. So I'm just going to point out the main features of the machine. On the side of the machine here we have the foot lift, so you just raise that to raise the presser foot and lower it again. Here we've got the stitch length dial and all the stitch lengths for the various different stitches and the stitch widths. They're all in the manual. It gives you guidance on how to set these for the different stitches. Here is the dial for the differential feed. So if you want to deliberately stretch your fabric, say you're sewing a lettuce edge and you want to create a nice wavy effect on a jersey, you knock your differential feed down. But if you deliberately want to gather or compress your fabric, if you notice that your fabric's coming out a little bit wavy, if it's cut on the bias or it's a particularly fine fabric, you might want to turn that up. And then over here we have the stitch width dial, and again all of those advised stitch widths are in the manual, so just refer to that for the different stitches and the different feet. Up here we have the tensions for the lower looper, the upper looper, the right needle and the left needle. They're numbered, and again it gives you guidance on those in the manual. And then here we have the presser foot pressure screw that you might want to use if you want to adjust your presser foot pressure to work with different thicknesses of fabric. One of the things I love about the Brother 3034 is the fact that you can sew using a free arm. So if we remove this piece here, this creates a free arm, which makes sewing in the round so easy. So when you're sewing a neckline or a cuff or a sleeve hem, instead of having to manoeuvre the bottom layer of fabric out of the way, if I was sewing this sleeve hem, I would only want to catch the top layer of fabric, and I would have to make sure that I didn't accidentally catch that bottom layer of fabric. With a free arm, you can slide that sleeve over the end of the machine, and then you're only ever going to catch that top layer, so you don't run the risk of accidentally catching the bottom layer, and that is just such a useful feature to have. In addition to that, you've got the free extension table. So when you purchase the machine from us, you get the extension table and all the feet included. I've got links below for you if you do want to look at purchasing the machine, but this is how the extension table slots in as well there, and that just gives you a much bigger workspace. If you're working on a bigger project, it's really handy to have that additional workspace there, and that is all included when you purchase the machine from us. There may be times when you don't want to use the knife because you don't want to cut the edge of your fabric. If this is the case, just follow the instructions in the manual, bring your needle to the lowest point, and then you use this lever here, you just pull that to the right, and that will bring the blade out, and then you can turn it and retract it completely. So now the fabric won't be cut when you sew, and then when you want to return it to cut, you just pull it out again and return it to its original position. So if you're impressed with all the brilliant features of this machine and you'd like to take a closer look, click the link in the corner of the screen to view it on our website, and you can purchase it there. In the box you'll find everything you would expect: a detailed instruction manual, the foot control, the free extension table and trim trap. You also get 4 free threads to get you started, some needles. You also get the 3 additional feet. Then you'll get spool caps, thread nets, tweezers, an Allen key to remove the needles, everything you need to get you started. Then, if you want to take your sewing even further, there are additional feet available to buy for this machine too, such as a taping foot for attaching elastic and tapes, or a pearl sequencing foot. They're all available to buy on our website. Just look out for the Brother accessories and give us a shout if you need any help choosing, because that is what we're here for. I've given you a really good overview of the Brother 3034 Overlocker, but if I've left any of your questions unanswered, don't hesitate to get in contact. We're always happy to help before and after you buy a machine from us. All of our machines come with a full manufacturer's warranty, which is 3 years for the Brother 3034. So in the unlikely event that you have a problem, don't hesitate to get in touch. Most of the time we're able to solve any issues over the phone, but if that's not the case, we'll collect the machine and organise everything for you. We offer the best prices, but if you do see this machine cheaper anywhere else, get in contact and we'll be happy to help. Your machine will arrive the next working day by courier free of charge, and you'll get a dedicated time slot so you know when to expect it. I hope you're feeling excited about your new overlocker. Thanks for watching.